Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of the Muscle News and Merlin Bodybuilding podcast. My name is Kevin Grech and my partner in crime, Eric Brozer. How's it going, Eric?
It's going good. It's going good. Getting hotter here in Vegas, and
Yes.
but it is what it is. I moved to
Yeah,
Vegas. I kind of knew it was going to be this way, but every year now that I'm here, I'm just like, oh my God, it's just getting
I know.
hot. And as you and I were just talking about before, real
Yeah.
quick, I was discussing how like I just run hot as a person, like even though it's like 70 degrees out, I'm sweating. Other people like it's so comfortable. So when it gets to be like 110, 115, forget about it. I just like melt.
People like it's like in the winter, here in Malta, it gets a bit cold,
Yeah, same in Vegas. It
It
gets a little cold.
it rains sometimes, it rains, windy, and then people are like, I can't wait till the summer. The summer kicks in the first week. I can't wait till
Everybody's
the
like,
winter.
can't wait to
Yeah.
the weather. Yeah. I mean, really in Vegas, the funny thing is there really is. We've actually had snow here a couple of times, like a little bit.
Yeah.
It can get real cold at night, like down in the
That's
30s or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
which I'm from New York. So like I like that. Like I like
yeah,
that feeling. So I
yeah,
love the falls, the winter,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe the spring here, but the summer is rough. But I love when people go, yeah, but there's no humidity. I'm like, yeah, but when it's 120 degrees outside, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah,
like it in an oven.
yeah, I know, I know.
But anyway, so
Um,
other than that, all's good, training hard, doing my thing.
yeah, everything, life is, it's good. It's
Life keeps moving.
yeah. To start off, I mean,
I know we
Ronnie
have a bunch of
Coleman.
stuff we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Ronnie Coleman, there was that third update, so they said they operated. Not much news, but I
They
mean,
operated and they didn't say what they operated on. They just
yeah,
said he had
yeah,
another condition.
yeah,
So they never said he has a heart or this or that. They just said they operated on something, which is over and above the blood
yeah,
poisoning
yeah,
infection.
yeah.
So
Who
they're
knows?
not really giving us much.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, I didn't really look into it. It's not something. Uh, I don't know. With my experience, when sometimes you have the facts of certain things of a bodybuilder had an operation or something, and you publish it. Sometimes they'll like write to you and say, "Who gave you the permission to say that?" And it's like, or even they say it and they forgot what they said. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't even, when they want to say what they say, it is what it is. I'm not going to speculate about
I
it.
just think that everybody wants to know because everybody's so concerned about him.
Yes, yes, I can
He's so
understand
loved.
that.
He's so loved in the
Yeah,
sport,
yeah.
and
No, I mean,
everybody's worried about him. I mean,
yeah,
he's not he's not an old man.
no, no, no.
He's still young. So we
Some,
all just pray for him. I
yeah,
mean,
because he's out there. It's like some people believe it's like our not our right, but the fans they believe they should be open more to the fans, and but the thing is the family they handle it their own way, so you can't really.
I believe that the family obviously wants to keep this private for now, relatively,
Yeah,
and that's their right. And I don't have anything against that. Of course, the only reason we want to know more is because we're concerned. We want to
yeah,
know if he's going to be okay.
yeah,
So we just
they probably don't want people to talk crap, how they people talk the minute a bodybuilder gets sick. It's like, bombarded with, this, that, and that, or he shouldn't.
speculation. It's this, it's that, it's the other.
Yeah. So
Um,
so they cut that out for now, so we'll see. And
well,
Fuad's back.
hopefully, and yeah, Fluid, yeah, he actually is working his way back, huh?
Yeah, he's doing his podcast, he still looks like he still looks a bit, his voice is still rough, probably with all the pipes, that he had put into him.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
he went through hell.
I mean, he has not a long road ahead, but it's gonna take time,
Oh, he's got
so
some heal. He's got a lot of healing to do. I mean,
yeah,
even all those cracked ribs, which you have to heal by themselves, that
the
takes a long time.
the collapsed lung,
The
he has to
collapsed
get that.
lung,
I don't know how
he
that heals, but anyways,
it's
you know,
it's rough what happened to
had
him.
that
But
oper he had that operation, the therapy, his hand, he has one side, he said it's getting better. So maybe the way he fell, the nerves got, really, I don't know, it must have been the hit or something, but it takes time, but thankfully he can run his business from home, so
and he's alive. I mean, it could have
yeah,
been
yeah,
deadly. It could
yeah,
have been deadly. So
easy, easy.
Easy could have been deadly hit.
centimeters or inches, you know. It depends
Yeah,
how you fall.
the way he landed,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. I mean, it could
And
come into play. So
maybe bodybuilding saved him because he, had a bit of muscle on him as well, you know. It could,
I would always guess yes. I think that
yeah,
having all that muscle and being, the strength
yeah,
of the
yeah.
body probably is almost like somewhat like a cushion and takes a lot of the impact that a normal person wouldn't be able to take. So,
So,
you know,
that's good news. Before we start with just slightly going on the Portuguese show, the show that was in Portugal that
yeah.
Rubiel won. I want to show you a picture that I came across while I was waiting for you to come online. Look at this
All right.
picture. One sec.
I have no
Because
idea.
I like when I find something, I want to show it on the show, we share it.
Well,
Um,
like last time when you showed me Keon was playing
yeah,
with his dog.
this is another one. One sec. You seeing this?
Oh, Paul Dillette and Lou.
Look at Paul Dillette and look at Lou Ferrigno.
Actually, Lou makes him look small.
Yeah, you seeing that? All
Yeah.
right, maybe Paul is in contest condition there. All right, give or take 10, 15 pounds. All right. But look at Lou.
You know, Lou, when he was competing against Arnold, he was only about 268 pounds at 6'5", and he was
Yeah,
he was still massive. But when
yeah,
he came back, he was well over 300. He was
yeah.
massive.
He's I think he's one of the first freaks, like tall, big, his mass equaled his height.
He, I mean, his quads weren't, and again, that's
All
always a
right.
tall guy thing
Yeah,
usually.
yeah.
But like but his upper body has to be one of the most massively developed upper bodies.
Crazy, crazy. But that
Does look, he actually does make Paul
yeah,
look small, and Paul is one of the biggest freaks ever.
crazy,
So, well,
crazy.
you remember when uh I think it was the last time that Lou did the Open Olympia, because I know he did the Masters, but I remember the
When
year
Dorian was there. Yeah,
93
yeah, yeah.
and Dorian, but I'll tell you one thing, if Lou stood next to Dorian at any point, he would make Dorian look small, as big as
No,
Dorian.
he
He
made him
had
look.
he had
Yeah,
50 pounds on him.
he was next to him at FIBO, I think. After that, and
He's he's massive. He's massive, Lou. A lot of people forget about it.
yeah,
And he was in condition too. He was hard.
Lou was one of he was a freak, but um so let me just bring up the
That was a good picture though. That was
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it just
I never saw
uh they just pop up on the screen while you're browsing and I say so um it was the Big Evolution show in Portugal,
that. Yeah,
right?
Portugal.
Yeah, so results. Okay.
And the only heavy hitters in the show pretty much were Rubiel and Nathan, right? Pretty much.
There was Rubiel, and second went to Bruno Oliveira Santos.
Oh, yeah, Bruno. Okay.
Nathan came third. A guy named Fabian Meyer came fourth. I mean, there's so many new guys. It's hard. I mean,
I that's what it is. There's so many new guys, and so many of them are
yeah,
European guys
yeah,
that
yeah,
are
yeah. I mean,
involved.
look, Colombia, Brazil, UK, Austria, Spain, Czech Republic, UK, Germany, France. I mean, these guys. I mean, I mean, I should know who they are, but there's so many guys. There's so many
Well,
profiles.
it wasn't like an A-list
No,
line.
and that's what I want to talk about as well. Let me share this page. Um, so we have Rubiel here.
It was just a
He's
freak of
his
nature.
condition is improving. I mean,
I think he does. I see a little bit more separation in those quads,
yeah, yeah,
so he did definitely come in shape.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
just not he's not and in certain shots like side chest,
yeah.
he looks great, but he doesn't have the most pleasing physique in the world. He's a
His
freak.
his side chest and even here his biceps look huge. But then when he does
And
a
then when he does
double,
a front double bicep, right? Then
they're
it changes.
lost. They're lost. You know, like I said, he does have I mean, he's a freak. I mean, I don't know how Nick Walker, it's going to be, you know, Nick is harder and has a bit more balance, but it's going to be interesting, huh? He's
I would definitely say, I mean, especially because of his leg. I mean, nobody's legs.
nobody,
I mean,
nobody.
it would be fun to see Rami and him on stage next to each other with the legs.
Yeah,
But
Rami's. You're mentioning Rami. He's mentioning that he might come back, but
I hear things about that, but
I don't believe it. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if he should. I don't think he can
yeah,
really do anything anymore.
yeah. This is Nathan.
This is Nathan. I'm sure Nathan was not happy with third.
No, his face, showed it when they gave him it could be. I'm not gonna say politics, but man, you can't you can't talk down to Steve. You can't call out the head judge of the
You
NPC.
have to one like see if you look at Nathan. I know Nathan only placed third. He wasn't second.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you look at Nathan's physique overall, head to toe, looking at now
No,
all the different elements, symmetry, proportion,
he's more balanced.
that he's more balanced. And the thing is that it was pretty much more balanced people that beat. I mean, Nathan beat him
Yeah,
in July.
yeah,
So you have to wonder, did his
yeah,
did his what he said
yeah.
kind
Because
of
he didn't
go
go to
against
Italy. Yeah, he didn't go to Italy because he missed what do you call it? The
the time?
deadline for
Yeah.
15 minutes. Yeah, he missed the
Well,
deadline.
where's the guy that placed second
Here,
to
here's you're saying this.
yes.
So,
So that
um,
was
this
the
is the
guy
guy
in
that
the
plays second.
placed
I think
second.
that
Yeah,
is,
he's better balanced too.
yeah, yeah,
It's just, I think in this particular, I mean, you can make an argument for Nathan here. I like the guy on the right too. He's got a really nice physique.
yeah, yeah,
I like his he needs more mass, but he's got a very well put together physique, very symmetrical and balanced.
yeah,
Just needs more size. But I think this Rubiel just
yeah. That's
overwhelms
the
his
thing,
brain with muscle.
the freak factor kicks in. Look at his
Because
calves.
he's
They're
so dense.
as big as I think both my legs together.
Well, look at Diash's calves and his calves.
Yeah,
He makes Nathan's calves look tiny.
yeah, yeah.
They look
Everybody's,
like thighs.
yeah. The guy's a freak.
His lower body genetics are just through the roof.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a plus for the Olympia. They have even if he doesn't place in the top 10, he's going to attract people. I'm telling you, you know.
Oh, for sure he's going to be if he's at a booth,
Look at
if
his
he's at
abs.
if he's at a booth at the Olympia Expo,
Yeah,
there's going to be a line around the place to
yeah,
get to take a picture with him.
yeah,
And that's going to be his thing. It's going to be it's just like the way Tom Platz,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
always placed high, but he never won the
yeah,
Olympia, but he would be like,
yeah.
third, fifth, sixth, seventh. But
This
Tom was
says
one
it
of the most
all.
popular guys.
Yeah, this says it all. Look at his face.
But he knows he's got to stay in control this time. He can't.
Yeah, yeah. No, he said, he talked well about the guys, but he wanted to eat the medal, I think that there and then.
Yeah, I mean, third is definitely for him. He's probably thinking that,
Yeah, yeah.
especially because he beat Rubiel before, a
Of
couple of weeks
course.
before. He's
I
probably
mean,
thinking, I've got this show.
yeah, a lot of guys used to beat Rubiel before, so now,
But
maybe Chris Cormier is right, that um you know that he might eventually move up the ranks and shock everybody like Ronnie Coleman did,
sure,
I
I just don't think there's that much
well,
more he can do with his physique.
he doesn't have the same genetics.
Yeah, I don't foresee him ever being a top six Olympia guy unless because if you start throwing if you now you put it okay, so he was in a weak lineup there. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously overall. Not that listen, again, I'm not
No, no,
insulting any
no.
of the guys because these are the elite guys in the world. I'm
Yeah.
just talking about the tiers of
Yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
they are
yeah.
in the sport. There's already we can name 7 or 8 guys
No,
right
no,
now
we
that
already did it.
beat Rubiel.
Yeah. We already did
Yeah,
it last week,
yeah,
remember?
we did. So once he gets next to guys whose physiques are like more higher tier
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
his weaknesses will be exposed, which is mostly going to be. I mean, his conditioning is really good. Obviously, he's got more muscle size than anyone, but his blockiness and his symmetry is going to get exposed compared to some of these other guys, and that's why I just don't see him being. I mean, at best, I see him 10th.
I mean, financially, if he keeps, you know, if he doesn't go overboard, he stays healthy. he can rack in 4 or 5 wins a year and make good money, you know?
He's going to make, I mean, from just from being a freak,
Yeah, I mean,
appearances,
yeah. I mean,
contracts.
if he
He's
does
got it made.
the Arnold Classic, if he does the Dubai Pro and he places second or first or third, you know, he's gonna make good money, you know. But he has to remember as well, him, I mean other bodybuilders. You have guys like Crisio, he took the year off now, right? He's a freak as well.
Oh, he's a freak
So
too.
he could have did damage at this show, you know. He could
He
have
might have
placed
won the
first.
show. He
He
could have
could have
won.
played, yeah, you know. Crisio, I know I spoke to him many times. I met him. I mean, he's a legit freak as well. I know people. I've known him before he went to the pro league. You know,
Right. He's
so
been around for a long. A lot of people don't realize he's been around for such a long
for
time.
he's won like 3 Arnold Classics in Europe after the split. You know, uh, he's when I used to speak about him, people, you know, back then people used to, you know, say. I don't know how recent this video is, but 1 week ago. He's like probably off season now, but he's a freak, you know.
Look at those arms.
No, no, he's
That's
a
the kind of
freak.
arms. That's the kind of arms that Rubiel needs.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, Mikal, you know,
Look at those hamstrings.
yeah, no, he, you know,
Look at that hang on those hamstrings.
he's
He's a beast. He's a beast.
he is. I mean, his posing is improving, you know. I
That's his
mean,
main thing. If he can get his posing
yeah,
as high quality as physique, he
yeah,
is going to move up
yeah.
so
No,
quick.
no, he can be, and the fans like him, you know. The fans like him. So, you know, I wish he did the Olympia this year, but I think he's gonna compete at the Prague. He has to, I think, because they sponsor him, you know. The owner, the promoter sponsors him, so you know he has to be there, I think. I mean, even Rubiel, I think they're both sponsored by the Prague Pro guy. Um, you know, Rubiel's qualified now. We have to see what he's gonna do at
Well,
the
if I
Olympia.
was him, I'd not compete anymore. I'd just go to the Olympia now at this
Yeah,
point.
he should maybe take a small break and get into. I mean, it's 14 weeks.
I think it's like
14
14.
weeks. Yeah, so they can't really take much of a break, you know. He has to, you know, maybe cruise in. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm sure, I'm sure his coach is telling him what to do, so he's
Yeah,
good. But
yeah.
yeah, at this point, I think that he should have like, a little time to eat a little bit, maybe back off on the cardio for a week or two, and then get right
I
back
think
to it.
he's, if I heard Chris correctly on the Menace podcast, I think he has a problem with the diet. I think he's still a bit relaxed with the diet, you know. I don't think he's went to that level of suffering, the Kevin LeBron suffering, you know what I mean? Fish and broccoli.
I don't think too many guys today go to quite to the levels
Yeah,
of suffering that those guys
yeah,
did.
yeah.
That's
So
what I see. Um, but if he, it's really okay. He could improve his arms, Rubiel. He could probably get a little bit wider in the back to offset his waist.
yeah,
But he's got more muscle than he could possibly ever need. So
yeah.
for him, I think the only thing he can really do is get better condition.
I think
He's not gonna,
condition and he just goes and has fun, you know? I mean,
he's gonna be hugely
yeah,
successful financially, and
yeah.
he's gonna
So
win shows. He's gonna win this
yeah.
whatever. He's gonna win
I
shows.
mean, you know, like I think it was Sean Ray saying, you know, like why he was talking about uh the Canadian bodybuilder. Oh God, forgot his name. Um he
For a long
qualified
time.
for the Olympia as well. My
Oh,
God.
who? What from now? Like qualified
Yeah, yeah,
now?
now I'm thinking of so many things. Let me go qualified athletes. Let me check.
Oh, okay.
Uh
Too many things going on.
Reagan. God.
Oh, shoot, you
Reagan
can't. You didn't
Grimes.
remember him? We've talked about him so many times.
I know, but you know, either age, I'm forgetting names, man. You know, and anyways. Um, you know, he was saying like, is it worth it for him to go to the Olympia? I think it's worth it for anybody to go to the Olympia. If
We
you
already had
qualify,
that
you go.
discussion. It's ridiculous. He'd
Yeah,
definitely go to the Olympia.
I know. I mean, next year, you know, like we said, you get a small injury, family problems, he doesn't go. You missed your chance, you
You
know?
never know. And
No,
plus,
that's
and
it.
Reagan
So,
deserves it. He
you know,
deserves.
I think, you know, they all should go to the Olympia, you know, and speaking about the Olympia, you want to talk about anything else about Portugal? I mean,
No, I think we covered that pretty well. I mean,
I mean, I, you
congratulations,
know,
Rubiel.
I don't want to, yeah, I mean, other shows analyze and analyze, like Milos, I love listening to it, but, we like cramming a lot of things into one show.
Yeah, well, I talked to you
Oh,
about a bunch of different things. So I
yeah,
think we
yeah,
covered
but talk
that,
all but
and we'll see what
bodybuilding
happens
related.
next.
Speaking about the Olympia,
Yeah.
I asked a good friend, uh, very high up at the Olympia, and there's a debate now. Some people don't even know. Some people think the top five only make money, some the top 10, top 15, nobody knows. And some people believe that the top three only should get paid and the rest shouldn't get nothing. Like I think it was Dave said, Palumbo said,
Oh, Dave Palumbo was really hard. He was
yeah,
like
the
top
top
three
three
or
should
five.
get paid, like
That's
the
it.
Olympics, gold, silver, bronze, and the rest get nothing. I mean, this is the finals, you should get something. I mean, in Europe, in professional, soccer, football, the biggest leagues in the world, at the end of the year, the first place team get a bunch of money, millions, millions, millions. Second get third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the television rights get spread out between everybody. So everybody gets their piece of the cake. Okay. Um, do I think certain rules should change to make it more exciting? I believe so. Like I've always said in the past, I believe now people are probably gonna, jump on me on this. I believe the winner of the Olympia should qualify again. Why? Because if you win the World Cup in football or soccer or in the NFL, you win the Super Bowl, the champion has to fight to win again, So should,
True.
the Mr. Olympia, all right, you won, you got the money, you got your trophy, qualify for the next one. You know what I mean? Look how much, imagine Samson going into a competition knowing he needs to win, then knowing that he already is qualified. So this is just to make it would change the goalpost here and there, it'd be interesting, or the Mr. Olympia who wins qualifies automatically for the next year, but if he doesn't win, he has to qualify again, to compete the year after, So things like that, I would challenge and have a good debate about it, maybe change the rules a bit, but getting back to the prize money,
Well, you know what though? I don't know if because I actually watched Dave's show when they were talking. Him and Chris Aceto were talking about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
Dave, his argument was that he thinks that only like the top three should get prize money,
yeah,
but that you take all the prize money that you're giving everybody else and you give more
yeah,
to
yeah,
the guys at the top, so that the prize money for the
yeah,
winner is,
yeah,
1.5 million, bigger prize money
yeah.
than everybody else. And then I also but Chris Aceto was like totally pushing back against it. He was like,
Yeah.
"Are you kidding me? You're not going to give
I mean, you're
prize money
fourth.
to the rest of the guys,
Yeah,
the top
you're,
10,
you're
whatever,
fourth
whatever."
in the world and you get nothing. Come on.
Right. He was pushing back against it. Dave was adamant about his opinion.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then, Dave was also talking about to push the point a little further, he was like saying, not to save money for bigger prize money, Jake at the Olympia shouldn't be paying everybody's way to the show. You have to, pay your own way
yeah, yeah,
unless you get into the top,
yeah,
I guess, 10 or so,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you get your money back. But
yeah.
everybody else has to pay their own way, and then that extra money can go to the prize money. So everybody has their opinion.
Yeah, I don't. I think some competitors that are, I don't know how much they give money to competitors. Like for example, Rubiel, he lives in Colombia or whatever. I don't know if he pays the full flight or anything like that. But you know, a lot of these competitors might not go if they see that they have to spend a lot of money to go. You know
That's
what
the
I
thing.
mean?
That's true.
Yeah. So basically, into 2024 at the Olympia. Mr. Olympia. I'm not talking about the other divisions because we can spend the whole day talking
Right. The
about them.
open Olympia.
Yeah, first place 600,000, second 250, 250,000, third 100 grand, fourth 40,000, fifth 35, sixth 25,000, seventh 20,000, eighth 14,000, ninth 12, and 10th 10,000. So, um, that's from 1 to 10. Then I asked, what happens from 10 to 15? If I'm not mistaken and I understood what they told me, all right, 11 to 15 get 2K plus expenses each.
Mm.
So, all right, probably to get to the Olympia and, diet, training, and all this stuff, um, it costs more than that, but at least they're getting 2 grand and their expenses paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so the Olympia is paying from 1 to 15. Uh, I mean, you play six, you get 25 grand. You place fifth, you get 35. That's already more than 90% of the contests, during the year. Like Rubiel got what, 10 grand last weekend or the weekend before,
Yeah. Some of
so
them are real small. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, you place second, you get 250,000. You place third, you get 100 grand. That's good money, you know.
Yes.
So I think it should stay like this. Everybody gets a piece of the cake.
I mean, I would tend to agree as well. I think that when you're at that level and you're elite, that you should definitely get something for participating in for qualifying and getting into the Olympia.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that too. Um, as far as the other thing that I brought up real quick, like when you have like 50, 60 classic guys and like 100 bikini girls and the amount of people, I don't think that all of them should have their expenses paid for, to be honest.
I
I
mean,
think that you should have to place it because that's a crazy amount of
yeah,
money.
the bikini girls and the wellness and the
The
men's physique.
wellness and the
Yeah.
classic and the men's physique. I mean, to pay for everybody's expenses,
Yeah. It gets it's
I think there should be like maybe a top 10 or top
yeah.
15
Yeah.
cutoff, something like that. That's just,
Yeah.
whatever. But,
I
there's
think,
different issues that have to be
yeah,
worked.
maybe another show we'll talk about it more. I think maybe in the future, like Bob Ciccarello says, and they might have to funnel them out, like maybe the day before, or I don't know how they can do it, or a week before or something. Uh, it depends because bodybuilding, it's all physique, it's all timing. All right, that has to be during that weekend, maybe 2 hours before they go on stage, the men's physique. They get them all up and they funnel them down to the top 15. It is what it is. It saves time.
They may have to extend the amount of days that they're there,
Yeah, they have
do
to
like
get,
A
yeah,
Friday prejudge.
yeah, they have to get them up beforehand. I mean, I know at least they made it to the show. They made it there. They can make up their booths and stuff like that, sell photos or whatever how they can make money. But you know, it would be easier to judge 15 people, 15 athletes than
I
70.
think it would be beneficial for the judges
Yeah,
because they're not going to get exhausted looking at
yeah,
so many bodies.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it'd be more beneficial for the audience,
yeah,
and I think it would be beneficial probably because they could probably raise the prize money higher, not having to pay all those expenses. So I think it would benefit the sport. So
yeah,
that's something that should be looked at, especially because, some of these amounts of people that qualify for
yeah.
show is just it's enormous and it's
I
it's it's
mean,
so difficult.
hopefully I can convince maybe Dan after the Olympia, when he has his holiday and before he starts planning for the next year to come on the show and we can speak to him about it or something. It would be it'd be interesting. Or maybe, they might already be discussing something. We have to see.
Yeah,
Moving
I'd love to
on.
get Dan on the show. Dan,
Yeah,
I know Dan well, and
yeah,
I used to actually work on his channel when he had it.
yeah. Digital
So
muscle.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he'd be an interesting perspective,
yeah, yeah.
on the show. So all right, well, we'll see what happens. We do
He's
have some good guests coming, but I'm not going to reveal them yet.
yeah. We have two lined up. Uh, both of them are fantastic. I'm happy that they accepted. I'm working on others, even maybe female athletes, former athletes. I'm trying to get one particular. Maybe I can get her contact. We'll see. Uh, and I mean, you see them online. It's not easy. They might know you from your work and websites and stuff like that, but when you try to contact them, it's different. People are a bit more private. So sometimes you have to go through other people to contact them, so then it's okay, then they open up, here's my mobile, here's my cell phone number, here's my email, then it gets all right, so well, it takes time, but we're getting there,
Yeah, no, I mean, I have some
so
people out here in Vegas that I'd love to get on the show, which I'll
yeah,
talk to them soon.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we'll definitely have much more guests coming, but we definitely have some exciting guests. We have hopefully next week and at the end of the month as well.
yeah.
But
Next weekend we'll have a cool guest as well.
so what's next on our? We have a
So
little list. We always for you guys out there who are watching, Kevin and I get together. We make our little list together of the things we
yeah,
want to discuss,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we get rid
And
of some things, and we add some things, and we get rid of
yeah,
some.
yeah. And last week maybe you noticed there was a different format of the podcast,
By accident.
Yeah, but if I talked, my face would show. If Eric talked, his face would show. The video didn't get me yawning, and that was a funny piece, I kept sharing it, but
That was funny.
uh I was experimenting with the Zoom and stuff, and I clicked dual monitor, and I didn't know everything was normal, and then when I went to play it afterwards, I was like, holy crap, well, and anyways, at least you can hear it and watch it, and
Yeah, no problem.
today when I turned it on, they did a whole update, and I was like, Eric, let's record ourselves before.
Yeah, let's make sure we got it right this time.
Everything was different, so
Yeah,
it's technology, so
you got to keep up with everything. You never know what's going to
yeah,
happen.
yeah. And so we have as well, maybe we can touch on it with all the thing with, with Lee Haney. We had him as a guest, 8-time Mr. Olympia, with Milos talking about basically the same thing, getting, not the posing round,
He wants the symmetry
the
round
symmetry round, which I
judge,
agree with
and he
him.
does want the posing round judge too,
Yeah.
because I
And he
just
wants
saw
the
him on
posing
another
round
thing.
judged. I agree with him 100%. I agree with Lee Haney that the sport has to be rebooted again, getting back to certain things of the past, and certain things have has to be, I think, the physiques have to be a bit more maybe classical. I don't want to say, a freak like Rubiel is not cool to look at, but it everything combines, what they're doing, how they get to that point. Is it healthy, not healthy? But we're gonna get about the health. We're gonna talk
Right.
about that a bit later. But should the Pro League or the NPC or what any federation, the IFBB, um, should they do a roundtable discussion with the legends of the past and of the recent legends like Jay Cutler and Phil Heath. Then you get Ronnie Coleman and you get then Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, and all those guys. You get a roundtable discussion to see how they can put the sport, in a direction where everybody agrees to it. You know, because the way it is, you have that media channel saying what they think. You have that bodybuilder saying, Lee Haney's, he's from the past. He should keep his mouth shut, with which I don't, I don't really tolerate because, he's been there, he's done that. He's won the Olympia against some of the best lineups that there ever was, you know. Um, when you compare him to, for example, I'm saying Arnold's not a legend. Arnold's a legend in what he did during that time, okay, and then he progressed, acting, politics, or whatever. But you have to remember, it's not, you know, if you go back, Arnold, once he won Olympia on his own on stage, all right, by himself, there was not more than three or four guys. The only Olympia that he had a strong lineup with was the 1980, and that was controversial because many believed that he
Very,
shouldn't have won.
very
So
good.
Arnold literally never competed against more than three or four guys, So um, then you get Lee Haney. He's won eight against a lineup of 15, 16, 20 guys that were all in top condition.
Very tough people. Very tough.
So he has the right to say what he has to say. He's not putting down the new bodybuilders, He's not putting on, he's saying it as it is. He believes, like, for example, he said it, Nick Walker would have a tough time going up against Samson, Derek, and Hadi. That's his opinion. That's what he thinks. And it it could be, you know, it could be. So I think, guys like Milos, uh, you get Tyler Mannion there or whoever, or well, maybe presidents from other federations. It will never happen. But if you focus just on the MPC and Pro League, they make a round table and they discuss these things. I think something can come out of it.
I think it would be very, I mean, we're kind of having like mini roundtables on the internet
Yeah,
now. 'Cause
yeah,
like the
yeah,
other day I was watching and it was
yeah,
Dennis James,
yeah,
Milos, Flex
yeah,
Wheeler, Chris Cormier. So like mini roundtable.
yeah.
Um, so it would be interesting to get more of them together, everybody together, and see. But the thing that I would want to do is that if you do notice, a lot of the people who are saying, and I'm not saying who's right or wrong, I'm just saying that a lot of people who are saying we need the symmetry round back, we need the posing round back, we need to start to get to the more back to the aesthetics, so on and so forth. All of the physiques, the people generally had that kind of physique.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Lee
yeah, yeah.
Haney, small waist, and you have, you got Chris Cormier, more symmetrical, Flex Wheeler, you got Milos. Those were their physiques. So if I was going to have a round table of people of the past and maybe some present, you would also need to get people like Marcus Rule on there.
Yeah.
You need
Dorian
to get
Yates.
Jean-Pierre Fu. You
Yeah,
need to get some of the mass monsters
yeah,
who were still winning some shows,
yeah,
maybe not the Olympia,
yeah,
but that was their forte, and
yeah.
see what their opinions are also, because you can't just, and obviously you're going to be biased to the type of physique you
Yeah, of
had.
course. Like
So
I
you know what I'm
don't.
saying?
Yeah,
So I feel
yeah.
like you'd
No,
really
no.
have to have all the different types of physiques.
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah,
shorter guys, some of the guys
yeah.
who are more freaks, some of the guys
No,
who are really
exactly,
aesthetic.
exactly. I
The
mean,
Bob Paris's, the Rory Liedermeyers,
yeah, yeah,
plus also the Marcus Rules,
yeah,
the
yeah,
Art Atwoods, if he was still with us. People like that,
yeah.
so
I
that it's a
mean,
balanced conversation.
yeah. I mean, like Nick Walker's probably saying, who is Lee Haney to judge me and tell me that I can't win the Olympia? He's right. He's right. Lee Haney's just looking at him physique, but determination and the will to win. I think there's nobody like Nick that will say, that he wants to win the Olympia. His, if I heard him right once, he's not doing it anymore where he's going to say he's going to win. He's going to place in the top three. Now, that could be, first, second, or third. Uh, he doesn't have those aesthetics and stuff like that, but Nick Walker, when he's on point, he's dangerous. He,
He's very dangerous.
yes,
He could
yes,
easily win the Olympia. So
exactly.
it's you can't
You
count
can't,
anyone in that top
no,
group out,
no,
because number one, you don't know who's going to show up in what which way.
exactly.
Plus,
But
also, I mean, it's on the competition. I mean, listen, I personally, and this is my opinion, I like the more aesthetic physiques in general. I
even,
still want them to have a lot of muscle.
yes, yes,
I
yes,
will tend more towards like a Flex Wheeler, Lee Haney look
yeah,
in my view of
yeah,
what I see bodybuilding is,
yeah.
more so than the mass monster. But that's not to say that I don't look at mass monsters and go like, oh
No,
my God, they're
but
incredible. Like,
yeah,
wow. So the sport still has to be judged on all the different aspects: conditioning, muscle size, muscle
yeah,
proportion, symmetry. All of it has to come into play, because you might have a mass monster going against a guy who's super aesthetic, but he doesn't have enough muscle in his body, or
yeah.
he's not
No,
conditioned enough, and the mass monster deserves to win.
yeah.
So you have to. It's
People,
very.
yeah,
This problem is that this sport is so based on opinion and so
yeah,
subjective that everybody is going to have their own thoughts, and there's
exactly.
nobody who's right or wrong.
No, no,
That's the thing.
no. Like some people will say it's bodybuilding. People want to see freaks, people want to see mass. But then there's the aesthetics, there's the condition, there's how everything flows. Is it a bit artistic? Like you're seeing the sculpture of Michelangelo, is it artistic or is it a freak show? All right, the fans love seeing a freak show, but if you want to see the beauty of bodybuilding, it has to be, you know, I'm not saying everybody has to look like Bob Paris, because then you put him next to a guy, like next to Reagan Grimes, that's like a Bob Paris, 2.0. Reagan looks, huge. Would somebody prefer Reagan as a Mr. representing the sport as Mr. Olympia? Why not? But then again, it comes to muscle size, condition, if everything's balanced, and if like Samson comes in on point, nobody's gonna touch him. We can say it now. You know, if Samson comes in on point, better condition,
Probably will win again. If he
he'll win
comes in,
again.
he'll
And
probably win again.
he has the capability of keeping that title. You know, I don't know if he'll keep it for 8 years, but he has a chance to make a good run. You know, um, you know, it's going to be interesting. But I think the way we're seeing things is what's going to happen at the Olympia now. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth might change around, but you know, I think Samson's going to be the guy that's put in the middle all the time. As I said, he has to come in that condition because if he doesn't, Derek can push him aside, you know,
So can Audi.
and Derek's trying to go, you know, for the full sweep this year, you know, Pittsburgh, Arnold Classic, and if he wins the Olympia, you know.
Quite honestly, there are at least four, if not five guys who are capable of winning the Olympia this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
It's not like back when Ronnie was just dominating or when Dorian
No,
was
no.
dominating, when
Yeah,
Lee was
yeah,
dominating.
yeah, yeah.
It's much closer now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
think it's a great discussion. There's
it
and
would be
everybody's gonna have
amazing.
their
Yeah,
opinion. There's people who
yeah,
just love mass monsters and that's what they want to see. And there's some
yeah,
people who love,
yeah,
but I'll give you a funny, here's a really quick example. I think that a lot of what Lee Haney and some of these guys, not all of them, but like maybe Lee Haney in particular, he likes to see, he wants bodybuilding to be bigger than just the bodybuilding crowd loving bodybuilding. He
yeah.
wants it to be more mainstream. And it's funny because my mom watched our show with Lee Haney.
Okay, yeah.
She watches all of them, really. She loves our show. So
I
she was watching the one with Lee Haney. And, she's obviously seen me compete, but she's not like outside of me. She doesn't watch bodybuilding. But she watched the show and she saw the video that you put up of Lee on stage, like he was posing,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
while
yeah,
Lee.
yeah, yeah.
And she goes, "Wow, Eric," she goes, "he had such a beautiful body. That tiny little waist he had, and
Yeah,
he was so
yeah,
wide up top." And this is my mother.
yeah,
She's in her 80s.
yeah, yeah,
She's just
yeah,
a
yeah,
regular person. She
yeah,
and she was saying what a beautiful
yeah,
body he has.
yeah,
And so even though Lee Haney was 255 pounds and a freak of nature, if you'd see him right in front of you,
yeah,
she was saying that, but she probably wouldn't say that about a Nick Walker or
yeah,
a
yeah.
Marcus Rule or whoever else you want to put
Exactly.
into that,
Exactly. It's
you know,
just it's
box.
preference. Yeah, it's
I'm
preference.
just saying she's like I could see where Lee Haney wants he
Yeah,
wants bodybuilding to be more appreciated by the
yeah,
masses.
yeah.
I
But
think that's part of where it comes from for
as
him.
well, he's looking at it on the health side as well. Like
He's
we
also worried
said,
about people's health.
like we
Yes,
talked
obviously.
about, you know, Keon, if he wants to go to the open class, he should just stay as he is and not gain 10 more pounds. You know, that's what he's saying as well, you know. I mean, it's coming from that as well. And mentioning your mother the other last week, was it? No, the week we did Lee Haney, the week before. I went to my parents' house, you know, to see them. You know, my dad's gonna be 82, my mom's getting close to 80. Uh I'm opening the door and I'm like, you know, they have the television, the sound's up, you know, and I'm like, why am I hearing Eric? And I thought I had the mobile, you know, playing the video because I listened to the podcast in the car. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what? What am I hearing? And I go in and I see the TV and oh, there's me and you and you know Lee Haney and they're there watching it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great though, isn't
Yeah, yeah,
it?
it's cool, it's
I
cool. And
love when
even
my mother calls me and she goes, "Oh, that podcast was so good.
yeah,
It's so good."
even at work, people that are not involved in bodybuilding, you know, they're like, do you have a show on YouTube or something? I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, it's like I try, you know, explain it really fast because, you know, bodybuilding is that small
Yeah.
niche. So, you know,
But anyway, to
um,
close out the topic, a big, huge roundtable committee kind of thing
yeah,
would
yeah,
be huge, like with an audience and
that
everything
would
would
be
be
cool.
really, and people who can ask questions. It would
Yeah.
be it'd be very interesting.
Yeah. You
So
have them
who knows?
like the old Olympia press conference where they're all there, you
Yeah,
know,
but
you
like a
can
different
have
purpose.
a section with the mass monsters. You have the guys of the 90s and 2000s, and then you have the guys Lee Haney, Lee
If you
Labrada,
can bring some of the guys like the 70s, 80s, like the
yeah,
Samir News,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that kind of stuff, and then have some of the more like 80s guys
yeah,
like the Gasparis and the
yeah,
Labradas, the
yeah.
90s guys. If you can have all those generations in one room
Yeah,
giving their opinions, I think
yeah.
that would be like a huge
That
thing.
would be cool, you know.
You could sell
That
tickets to that.
yeah, I'm telling you, that would be really good. You know, you have like Bob, maybe emceeing the thing or, you know, taking care of it. You have Dan there and you can have, you
Yeah.
know, just taking points and then they can decide. they say,
Yeah.
listen, we're gonna push it in that direction, and
And then you have some of the biggest judges there. You have Steve
yeah,
there,
yeah.
Tyler. Everybody's opinions put forth. I think it'd be a very
And they
interesting
and they
time.
explain they explain what they look at on stage, what they're looking for. Because some
Yeah.
bodybuilders have no idea what the judges want, you know.
And I would love like Milos, for instance, since he's the most
No, he's
vocal, to
yeah.
stand up and say, Steve, Tyler, whatever judges there, explain to me why you got rid of the symmetry round.
Yeah, yeah,
Explain to me why, and
yeah,
let them answer.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it'd
no,
be
he's
you and I have come up to with this idea, so we need to get trademark it.
yeah.
So if they do it, it's our idea.
Yeah. I'll send it to some people. Listen to this. We said it.
Yeah,
But
I might put this part of the show up on one of my
yeah.
teasers. Put on Instagram.
Um, like what's good about, there's a lot of great podcasts. I look up to so many of them,
So many.
Fuad's and, Dave's and, Dennis's and Jay Cutler's. They're all good. They're all fantastic. I like listening to, even, um, God, Guy Cisternino, the way he talks about things, he's, straight to the point. But what's good about Dennis James is, me, Chris Cormier will be on another show and he'll hear somebody talking the crap you know, saying something and, Cormier will be quiet. He won't say
He's
anything.
always so quiet.
Yeah. And then Dennis will say, why didn't you say something there on that podcast? He'll call him out. He'll call him out,
Well,
or
Milos just called Cormier out on the last podcast that I
yeah,
saw. Yeah, when Milos is saying, Chris, what do you think about the fact that they have a symmetry round
yeah,
and they should have? And Chris was just like, well, I'm not against it.
yeah,
And Milos was like, what do you mean you're not against it? That's not an answer. He really pushed him on
yeah.
it.
And like even with Rubiel, because Chris was really pushing Rubiel. But then I don't know, something happened last year uh, at the Dubai event. He came out dancing like a freak, and Chris was like, "That wasn't me." I don't tell people to do
I
that
don't tell
crap.
people to
Yeah.
dance.
So then something fell through about I don't know what happened. So I don't think Chris is so much involved with Rubel, but he still believes that he can, do great things, which he is doing already. But
Yes.
Dennis will tease him, what happened to your boy? So and but now he's winning. So, Chris will be like, I told you so,
It's
but
amazing because it's so cool because all these guys used to compete against each other on stage and it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
kind of war. And now they're all kind of just like friends, and they could
yeah.
bust each other's chops.
And I love when they, talk about the stories backstage and the stuff they went through. It's
That's the classic stuff. That's the best.
crazy, crazy
Yes.
stuff, crazy stuff, but they had fun doing it. There was the respect between it. It's a bit lost today. There's not that anymore. There's not that same 10 guys competing against each
Yeah,
other
it's not the same camaraderie
for
they
10
didn't used to.
years.
Hey, listen, look at they used to go get on a bus and go from country to country
Yeah, I
competing in
mean,
Grand Prix
yeah,
together. And they were like
Wayne
how to be best friends. I
Yeah,
mean,
Wayne D'Amelia used to put them all in a bus, control them all. Some people call him out, Wayne, because of this and that. But, running the Olympia and taking all these guys on a bus and a plane all over Europe, it's not an easy task, huh?
you
And
have to it's almost like you just got to be brothers. Like
yeah,
you're
and
brothers all suffering, all trying to get it done on the road. And
people passed away mid, competitions like, like Benazina, and they had to keep
yeah,
going. It
and if
wasn't
they would
easy,
have come together, yeah,
It wasn't
right.
easy, and they had to pull through, and it is what it is. So that would be a great thing, if they had to put something together like that.
Yes, I agree.
Uh, and if they do it, we have to find them and say, "Ha, we mentioned it first."
Right. We should be there on the
Yeah, we
panel.
should be there. Pay our flights, we'll come.
Yes. We'll cover it
Um,
on the Muscle News.
so then,
What else we got? What else we
next
got
up.
today?
Uh, Yes, you would like to discuss, should the front lat spread and side tricep pose be part of the mandatory poses for the men's classic physique? I think so.
Yeah, I, obviously train a lot of classic competitors and I, sometimes help them with their posing and I'm running them through the mandatories. And I still ask, even though they don't have to do it, I
Yeah.
say, can I see a front lat spread and can I see a side tricep? I think that those, especially because let's say the lat spread from the front, especially, should be a classic pose because one of the tenets of classic physique is the V-shaped frame,
Yeah,
is the X
yeah,
frame.
yeah,
And what pose shows off the X frame better than the front lat spread? You
yeah.
know, you want to have the wide lats, the wide shoulders, the small waist, and the flaring thighs. So I don't see why I feel like that pose should be part of it. And then also they have a side chest, and I understand the side chest is a, I guess they want to see them hit it more like Arnold did
Yeah,
back in the day, where the chest is held up high. Not so much where a lot of these guys will kind of like lean forward and try to
yeah,
get
yeah,
this and
yeah,
abs into it and stuff.
yeah,
So there's that part of it. But I also think the side tricep
yeah,
is a shot that you want to be able to have a small waist and
yeah,
have the kind of stomach sucked in,
yeah,
and it shows the shape of the body in a
yeah.
very interesting way. Maybe you can find a couple of just like maybe like Lee Labrada or
Uh,
classic type physiques in a
you
couple of
know,
those.
to be honest, it never occurred to me that those poses were missing.
Yeah, those poses aren't part of it. I think a back lat spread could be part of it, but I think if you just had one of them, so I'd pick the front lat spread. Obviously, most muscular does not. And of course, these guys can do these poses in their free posing routine,
You
but
think
I
it's
think that they'd be valuable to be posed as part of the mandatories.
you
I think
think
it
it's to
really does
save
show the physique.
yeah, you think it's to save time?
I, I don't, I mean, look, I mean, they're not really great with saving time at this point. I mean, there's a thousand classes and a million people on the show. So, I think to judge a classic physique, I really think that those poses should be part of it. I mean, I'd love to hear what other guys say about it. I bet you some classic guys would probably agree. The classic guys probably have some of the best front lat spreads ever.
So this is Lee,
Okay, so he wasn't classic, but he would be today
of
probably
course.
classic.
Even the
Do we have any side tricep shots of him or
let
any
me look. I
front
mean, this
lat
is a
spreads?
cool pose of Lee
I mean, he
here.
did so many classic type poses.
Let me see.
Yeah,
Side.
Francis Benfato too, another great
Yeah, that's
example.
another amazing guy.
Paris, another incredible.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's a side tricep. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a very classic
Yeah.
pose
And look
because
how
you
he
have to
shows.
have a small waist.
Yeah.
You
And
want to, it's just a very, it shows the beauty of the physique
yeah.
from the side.
And look how he shows the calf as well.
Yeah, he does that where he does the, instead of going up on the leg display to the audience,
Yeah.
instead of going up on that calf, he goes to the back calf, which is
Yeah.
that would be a really classical way of hitting it.
Yeah.
There's also another picture of him doing it in a different way towards the top.
Well,
If you go back to the other, yeah, if you go there and on the right, it's next to the black and white picture.
this
Go to
one?
the top. No,
No.
go to the top, a little higher up,
This one?
and then go to the right or the left. I don't know which way. No, the other way.
This one.
One, two, no, one more.
This
Yeah,
one.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
yeah, that's also like another classic type of a
Uh-huh.
side tricep.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I think that would also be a beautiful way to display it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we
I,
find a front lat spread somewhere? Somebody like a Francis Benfato or a there's probably even Bumstead probably doing
yeah.
it too.
What did you say? Front
Make a front lat spread.
lat spread.
Yeah, look at that on the left.
This one, right?
Yeah, look at that shot.
Yeah, it's
I
perfect.
mean,
All
is
right,
that
it's a bit
showing the
done up,
X
but
frame?
it's yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, to me, that is such a classic shot because that's what they want to show. There's even a shot of next to it. There's one of Bumstead doing it. Next, one more over. There's Bumstead and somebody else.
yeah.
Now,
It's not
why?
so clear. Yeah, yeah,
It's not so clear, but you know what I'm saying? But it shows the
yeah,
width of his shoulders, the width of his back. Same
yeah.
thing with the guy next to him, who's tremendous. And the
That's
smaller
Mike.
waist.
That's Mike,
That's
the guy
Mike.
that came
So
second.
look at how good. And I personally think now those shots right there, obviously during their routines or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
but they're not mandatory. I really
yeah.
think that should be a mandatory pose. Don't you think that should be a mandatory pose for a
I think
classic guy?
so. Yeah. I'm telling you, Eric, it really didn't cross my mind. I didn't notice.
Yeah, it's always bugged me that those
Yeah,
weren't part of the.
yeah. I mean,
Look at the side tricep on Benfato there, right to your
oh,
left,
I'm
right
telling
there.
you, amazing,
I mean,
amazing.
I think that's very class. I think that's more classic
Of course.
in terms of what the classic
And
bodybuilding is looking for than the side chest. I think
and
it's
you
even more
can,
flexible.
a bit of a vacuum as well,
Yeah, it's a great shot to hit a vacuum.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, it's very, that's, something very interesting,
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, we don't need to spend, an hour on the
no,
topic,
no,
but I
no,
just
but
think
it's,
it's something that maybe somebody would see, maybe Tyler, you see it, maybe Steve see it. I just think it'd be very valuable to put those poses in because I think it would give the judges two more very, very good poses to compare physiques.
it could be the difference between winning and losing, winning first and
Or
second,
first and second, second, third. It
Yeah.
really can because those poses are very important poses.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
to see who's got that width and who's
Yeah.
got that small waist. I think the side tricep is a great shot for that. You can't see the waist in the side chest really, because the hands are in front. So I don't know. That's just
No,
I
no,
want
it's
to
a,
throw that out there because it's my
yeah,
opinion and I
when you
work with a
sent,
lot of classic guys.
yeah, when you sent me that point, I was like, what the,
Because you probably didn't even realize they weren't
I didn't
included.
realize it, because you're like you're watching the thing and it's just you're just watching it, and it's like you don't even notice that there's two poses missing, It's like
Yeah,
who
they
knows
do.
why,
They go front double bicep, side chest.
Yeah,
Back
yeah,
double bicep,
yeah,
abs and thigh, which is usually vacuum and thigh, and then your favorite classic pose. That's
yeah.
generally
I
the way
mean,
it's done.
it's like men's physique. Sometimes they put in a pose, when you're you know, and they look fantastic. But men's physique is something different than, it's more just,
Well, this yeah, that's a different thing, but I'm just saying in
yeah,
terms of
yeah.
whatever. I'm just saying
No,
I
no,
just think
it's a
front
good
classic
idea.
pose. I think
Yeah,
it would really actually
yeah.
add to the prejudging and really show off the physiques to an
It's
even greater level. So I
it's a
just
great
wanted to
point,
throw that into the show.
Yeah,
Maybe this company, if anybody out there agrees with me, disagrees with me, please put it in the
yeah,
comments. I'm curious.
yeah. I mean, I'll send this segment, to Milos and tell him, listen, watch this. See, tell me what you think, because he does.
I bet you Milos would agree with me. I
No, no,
mean,
he does. He'll send
I
me a
just saw
voice
Milos
message
the other
or
day, but he was training somebody, so I waved at
yeah,
him.
or he'll send
I
me a
would
video
definitely say he'd
message,
agree.
and sometimes I like asking him things, like, what do you think of this,
Ask
Milos?
him if he wants to come on the show. I'd love to have him hear
Yeah,
his.
yeah, it'd be great. I have to tell him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or if I see him too, I'll be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
come on up."
tell him. Kevin want me, come on our show. No, man, so we go way back. I
Do
used
you
to.
know? I'm going to tell you a funny story just because, listen, it's
Yeah,
our podcast, so we could do
yeah,
what we want.
yeah,
There was a
yeah,
guy in the gym. This is just funny. There was a guy in the gym a couple of weeks ago, and he was somebody I've never seen before. It looked like he was visiting from another country.
yeah.
And he was a pretty big bodybuilder, and he's kept on staring at me. And I'm like, and I'm training, and I'm wondering why. I'm like, oh, maybe he recognizes me. Obviously I have a lot of stuff out there,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. And so and finally he like slowly makes his way over to me because we're talking about meals. He slowly makes his way over to me, and he says with a really heavy accent, he's like, "Are you Milos?" to me, to me. And I go to him, I go, "Did you say Merlin or Milos?" He goes, "Milos, are you Milos?" And I go, "Do I really look like Milos?" He didn't know what to say because he probably didn't even
Yeah,
speak much English. And I go, "No, no, no, I'm not Milos." And I
oh
said,
God.
and I was like looking, I'm like, I've never seen Milos with like a beard. I've never seen him with a goatee. I'm like, I never see him wearing hats. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
swear
yeah.
this guy thought I was Milos. It would have
Yeah.
been funny if I would have said yes. But
If you would have
oh
been
yeah,
there,
Milos, what do you need?
yeah, or if he was there, no, you tell him that's Milos.
Yeah, it just happened to be Milos wasn't there at the time, but
Yeah.
that's just a funny story to throw out there. I've
No,
been
it's
wondering
good.
ever
It's
since.
good.
I was almost going to put up a picture of Milos and me side by side and say, "Does anybody think that I look like Milos?" I don't think we look like each other.
Good
Anyway,
one. That was a good
just want
one.
to throw that in there because it was
Of
funny.
course. Why not? I mean, there's so many things happen in this crazy world of bodybuilding.
It's just
People ask,
really
and
funny. I was hysterical the rest of the
oh
time.
God. Um,
Anything else? Anything? What else do we got?
what do we
Anything else?
have? The best ab and thigh shots today and in the past, or
Yeah,
whatever.
I love to, every once in a while we've done like best back, we've done best
Yeah, cool.
biceps, whatever.
Um,
We did best
good, good.
thighs. So who today do you think has the best abs and thighs? I would probably have to say today is probably Hadi. Would you think so?
Hadi Chuba. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his
I
because his
mean,
abs are so impressive.
the first I found, then it came to my, I know, Labrada. Ah, sorry, I'm watching it alone. Um,
You're watching without me. I haven't seen it.
there's Labrada, right?
He had because he had such a
Amazing,
small little waist,
amazing,
even though
amazing.
that's not really a classic
I know, but
abs thigh shot. But
so Hadi Chupan.
yeah, Hadi would today. I would say who else today would have a really good one? Look, there's one of Hadi and Nick next to each other over there.
Yeah, look at that.
Now, Nick, for somebody who has a relatively, as people would say, always blocky, he's this and that. He's got a
Yeah.
very nice ab thigh shot.
Let me see if it's clear here. Nah, it's small. Crap. Uh, so Hadi. There's this one comparing him to Ronnie Coleman.
Ronnie didn't have a great abs thigh
No,
shot.
no,
His
no.
thighs were enormous, but he has the
Yeah,
separation. And
yeah,
I think it's called the linea alba. It separates the abs,
yeah.
and he doesn't have a great ab thigh shot.
Look at that.
Hadi's ab thigh shot is outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
his abs are
who,
incredible.
who else is there?
Milos, how about Milos?
Milos, of course, of
I
course.
mean, not only did he have great abs, but his quads were cross-striated.
Milos, unfortunately,
There, right up at the top. There's a couple of them at the top.
um, he a fantastic bodybuilder that not
I mean,
unfortunately, he loves it. He's happy to have what competed 78 times. All right, he has one win in Canada. But he's happy to say he competed against the best of the best, or people think it was the best era ever in bodybuilding, right?
yeah.
90s and 2000s. So look at that physique. Why
I
wouldn't it
mean,
win a show?
look how deep those abs are,
Yeah, yeah,
and people don't talk about his thighs enough. He had some of the best quads in bodybuilding
of
ever.
course.
I mean, look at the cross striations and look at the separation. I mean,
No,
just
he was something out of this world.
his
Milos,
if anything, you would want to say his upper body didn't quite match his quads
no,
because his
no.
quads are so outstanding.
Yeah. You know, when you talk about artistic,
But yeah, the beauty of his physique, the way it flowed and the way he posed it, he really knew how to show off his strengths and weaknesses.
yeah. I mean, like I said, he used to place, many times in the top five, top eight, so, he competed against the best in the world, so, and he would do anything to compete. Like he said, if he had a chance to compete, with Chris Bumstead, he would have went. He did 2 weeks, not telling off, like telling bodybuilders, you're in shape. Why didn't you go compete in Prague against Chris? Once
Yeah.
in a lifetime. So,
It's
he,
also interesting with Milos that he came in, and I've talked to him about this, but he's come in with a bunch of different looks. He would for a while he tried to get bigger and fuller.
yeah,
Sometimes he would try to be more conditioned. He came in with a bunch of different looks. I would be interested to find out what his favorite look for himself was.
yeah, if he was heavier or the big,
Yeah, which
or,
one? I like to ask those guys that. What was your favorite, appearance when you weighed
yeah,
230 or 250,
yeah,
whatever it was?
yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know. Arnold didn't do that many abs and thigh shots. I never.
um, trying to look. He used to do this one.
Yeah, he would always do like sort of like the side ab shot more than the front.
Arnold, they say used to like to hide his weak points, huh?
I
And
think that he didn't have tremendous thighs. That's one
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Um, Let me try Frank Zane.
Yeah, he also did the
That vacuum.
vacuum. He'd always do the vacuum.
Yeah,
So he more or less would show the vacuum pose, which he was a master
that was
at.
crazy. Look at that.
Yeah, that is a serious vacuum.
That's crazy.
That is a
Yeah.
serious vacuum that he had.
People don't appreciate how great he was, huh?
I mean, he just didn't have the size, but I mean, for back then, and
Oh,
if
crazy.
you saw, he's the kind of guy that if you saw him walking on the beach today,
Yeah.
that heads would be turning left and right
Of
because,
course.
but not because like, oh, he's too big,
No,
like
no.
because of the beauty of his physique, because he only weighed about 180 on stage.
Bob
Bob
Paris.
Harris also
Yeah.
just a beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any ab thigh shots, guys. These guys
His
don't like any
book.
ab thigh
I
shots.
was, arranging my books because I'm moving things around at home. His Beyond Built. I
Oh yeah.
found it. It was I had bought that and I still have it. It's a fantastic book. Um, yeah, look at that, you know. Unfortunately, he had a falling out with bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He once sent me an email. But anyways,
I don't. You know what? Bring up Martin Fitzwater. I'm going to see what his abs and
yeah,
thighs look
Martin,
because he's got a pretty relatively his physique's pretty symmetrical and balanced, and he's not a mass monster. What
am
does
I
he have in
writing it correctly? Abs and thighs pose.
abs and thighs? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but maybe they might. Ah, here it is.
it probably just catches up.
I think this
Okay.
is when he was still amateur or something.
Oh yeah, it was amateur there. He also has a little bit of separation between his abs
Yeah.
there.
Listen, I believe when these bodybuilders were amateurs, they're a bit more refined, huh?
Conditioned.
Yeah, more
Oh
conditioned.
wow, look at that. He's at the Dragon's Lair. I just noticed that in the
Yeah,
corner.
yeah. Yeah, not so clear. Here is here with Gus. Who's that? No, it's
Doesn't look like he's in contest shape
no,
there.
but uh
I'm just trying to think of who else has outstanding, who's outstanding in that pose. I don't think Derek is outstanding in it. He does the vacuum.
no, no. Listen, Rubiel, Rubiel has a fantastic he has
He's got pretty
fantastic,
cut abs. He's got pretty
yeah,
well delineated abs.
yeah.
There's a
Well,
shot with Tom Platz and Rubiel. That's an interesting one.
yeah, Tom was sick. Tom was as well, huh?
Tom had great abs. He had
Yeah.
great abs.
Fantastic abs.
And of course, they're trying to do a thigh comparison. See, now look at this is I know not what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
look at the striations.
Yeah, yeah, he's still
Tom's
missing that.
quads
No, no.
versus there was such separation and striations in his legs.
When he moves around, you see it.
You
Rubel,
could see it from the side.
you see them. You see the definition. You see the striations, but you know, he's far off from Tom Platz, you
Yeah,
know.
no. Well, then that was the same problem that Rami had, which we always talk
Yeah.
about. So a lot of
Yeah.
time, but then you look at somebody like Milos, who obviously his thighs are not quite
No,
that
Milos
big,
was
but the separation was
yeah.
just absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. The sweep.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean Ray, yeah, bring that one up. That could be a good
Yeah.
absent
There you
thighs.
go.
You guys are
Boom.
beauty, right?
Look at
That's
that.
one of the best of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the best of all time.
John had it all. Yeah. Yeah.
He had a beautiful physique,
Look at that.
head to toe, and great thigh and
Look at
ab shot.
this. Look at that. Look at that.
He just had a fantastic. He's
You don't see
definitely
that anymore. I
he is
don't.
one of the best abs and
Do,
thighs for sure.
do we see this anymore?
Not well, Hottie maybe.
You know,
Maybe you
I
see it
mean,
with Hottie, but
Kevin was huge as well. Look at that.
he had a good ab thighs and shot too. But Sean
Listen,
really
Dorian wasn't far off either, huh?
Dorian had a good one. You want to know a mass monster who had fantastic ab and thigh shot? Nasser.
Yeah,
Nasser El Somebody for weighing 285 on stage and being known for his crazy size had a very good waistline.
abs.
See if you could find abs and thigh for Nasser.
There you go. It's a bit small, this.
Well, you can even see him there in the middle with the
Yeah,
great shot. He had a fantastic his
yeah.
lats would flare out. He had tremendous boxes.
Look at that.
He beat Dorian in that shot, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. That, you
Just
know,
because of the shape of his abs were
yeah,
perfectly balanced.
yeah. Look at this. Jesus Christ. Ah,
Andrew Jack, that's another
Andrew
good one.
Jack. That's another
That's
freak, huh?
another very good one.
Yeah, that's another great freak.
Look at how granite hard Hottie is. He's
Yeah,
just,
and it's not a real clear
it's
picture.
not a good picture, but it's like next
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
Sean Ray
So
versus Dorian.
look at this. Wow, wow.
Yeah, Sean has that pose. I'm sorry, no matter what,
Yeah,
Sean's got that
yeah.
pose. You know what?
99%.
Bring up one more person. Bring up
Look at
Flex
this.
Wheeler.
Look at this.
Oh, Danny Padilla.
Yeah. Look at
Um,
Franco.
they had, listen, I personally think that years ago, many years ago, they had better ab thigh shots because
Yeah,
the waistlines were smaller
yeah.
and tighter.
Can I ask you something that did you want to bring up somebody else?
I was going to say flex, but no, ask me a question instead. That's fine.
Um, oh yeah, let's bring up Flex. Let's bring up
Flex is just also,
let's find
he
Flex.
had
Yeah, Flex Wheeler.
very
Because he
cross-straighted
was one of
thighs.
the best bodybuilders ever, and we never mentioned him. unfortunately. Wow.
Well, I think I've mentioned. I think he's to
No,
me is
no, we
my
mention him a lot, but you know,
abs and thighs is tremendous on him.
you're seeing this?
Oh yeah, he's got a bunch of them up there.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Look at that. That looks like it was either the that looks like the Arnold Classic '93.
Yeah, that's when he shined at the Arnold Classic. Unfortunately, at the Olympia, sometimes he was up slightly. He admitted on Dennis's show why he would fall off the diet a lot.
Yeah. Well, but you know what though? He would have won the Olympia in '93 if Dorian didn't show up. I mean, he was incredible in '93.
Yeah, yeah.
He was shredded. I think that was his most shredded year.
Trying to find
But at the Arnold Classic, people don't even realize at the '93, he only weighed about 218.
yeah,
At the end of his career, he weighed more like 245 to
yeah.
250.
There's your side tricep.
That's it. See, it's what a beautiful pose that is.
Look at this, talking about waist.
I mean, look at his glutes. That right there is '93 Arnold Classic. Look at the muscle bellies. I mean, just look at how the triceps
Yeah,
hang off of his arm.
unbelievable.
Look at the hamstring glutes. Look at the mid
Yeah,
back, the striations and the low lats.
yeah.
Yeah, that is just, I know we're off topic, but that is just one of
No,
the
no.
most.
So what? We we go from
I
one thing to
and
another. We
and I
make
have to I see Flex in the gym all the time because he's
yeah,
always there training now.
yeah,
And he's really such a cool guy.
yeah,
He's really just kind of like matured into this like really, really
yeah, yeah.
sweet guy. I love talking to him.
He's been
He's
through a
very
lot as
intelligent
well.
and he's been
So
through so much. So all
um,
right, so that topic is
yeah,
done.
yeah. You know what I wanted touching the topic of the abs? Could it be?
Oh yeah.
I might sound stupid, but anyways, um, the food, the chemicals in food, could it be? I'm not saying PEDs, all right? There's the abuse of that as well, but could it be the food from the 70s, 80s changed to the 90s, now to the 2000s? What they put in food, could it be that it affects the body? Could it be?
Listen, there's many more chemicals in food now than there used to be, obviously. Um, and I can't, and I would have to say most of them are probably detrimental to physique in some way. And so I think a lot of bodybuilders today, they use a lot of you know, things to give food taste and stuff that,
Yeah,
chemically, probably aren't great for us that we didn't have, the guys didn't even have in the 70s and 80s,
yeah, yeah.
Obviously that doesn't affect ab development,
No,
your ab
not
muscles,
affect ab
muscles,
development, the
but
condition, the
it's
bloat.
possible that the bloating, some
Yeah,
of the bloating
yeah,
could be. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why bloating can happen. It could be, the amount of food some of these guys push and pushing out the abdominal wall.
mhm,
Sometimes training wise, if you do a lot of like heavy squats and deadlifts and your waistline gets pushed out, so it's almost like a slight herniation. So there's a lot of different reasons, and then some people speculate that like
yeah, yeah,
growth hormone and stuff can,
yeah,
grow the gut
yeah.
and things like that. So I think that, but then you
Could
look at
be.
somebody like
Yeah,
Hadi, who's a
yeah,
freaking
yeah,
beast in the gym. He'll do drop sets of squats from like 600 to 500 to
yeah,
400,
yeah,
and his waistline is incredible. So I
yeah.
mean, but yeah, I'm sure there's some differences in
Could
the
be.
foods and things and
Yeah,
different reasons why there's maybe not as good. But I think a lot of it has to be with the changes in bodybuilding and the push for
yeah.
more mass
More mass. Yeah,
probably has to do with
yeah,
more of that than anything
yeah,
else.
yeah. Moving on to that, which is quite related, is the sport of bodybuilding unhealthy?
Yes, that was something that I wanted to discuss a little bit, not go crazy, but you know, because there's a lot of people out there who, they just look at bodybuilding and they're like, that's just so unhealthy because they only think about the PEDs part of the sport. So obviously, there's no two ways about it. If you do the sport naturally, you're going to be healthier than somebody generally who uses
Yeah, yeah,
PEDs. It's
yeah,
just, I mean, even though PEDs are demonized far more than they should be,
yeah,
there's negative effects, especially, if you push high levels of it. But, and I think the other aspect of you have to differentiate between the sport of bodybuilding and the activity of bodybuilding. Because the sport of bodybuilding, if you compete, getting down into condition that you should be in when you compete isn't necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you're
That
usually
is not.
dehydrated,
Yeah. 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 That's not
you're
healthy.
usually overtrained,
Yeah.
your stress hormones are very high. It's not a state that you want to hold for more
Yeah.
than a couple of days, really. So in a sense, it's acutely unhealthy. It could be,
But
especially if you do some really, I mean,
but
if you
isn't any sport at the highest level unhealthy?
I was going to mention that. I was going to say, listen, playing football and getting banged around every week, what these guys have to do week to week,
For Formula
you know,
One, you're driving at a 300 kilometers an
even
hour.
baseball
Yeah.
players having to play 162 games in a year. Even listen, professional
Golf.
wrestlers who
Yeah.
are not, not in the real wrestling, but in the
Yeah.
entertainment
Yeah.
part of wrestling,
Yeah. Yeah.
those guys get crushed. I mean,
Yeah. No, no. I
they're
mean,
walking around limping and this and
yeah.
that, breaking their
Oh,
back. So
Hulk
yes, all
Hogan spare
sports at the high
parts.
level,
Yeah. Yeah.
all sports at the high level has some aspects of being unhealthy, but
Yeah.
I think that you can keep the sport of bodybuilding, even at the highest levels, relatively healthy. Because first of all, the diets are generally better than anybody's diets out there.
Yeah.
You're eating healthy. Bodybuilders pay attention to, getting enough sleep, eating healthy. Usually do a lot of therapeutic things like chiropractic, red light therapy, physical therapy, different things to try to keep the body healthy. And a lot of times, most bodybuilders, even if they take PEDs, they take a large amount of supplements,
Yeah.
antioxidants and micronutrients, obviously very healthy. And the smart ones, listen, some of the guys push it too far, which is why we've probably seen some deaths
Yeah.
with the chemicals. But the smart ones who stay pretty healthy are the ones who cycle things correctly, who stay in touch with their doctor and get their blood work done, make sure that nothing, if you're using high levels of PEDs and you're not getting your blood work done, you don't know what could be going wrong in your body. But most of the guys are smart about it and they do, and they get their blood work done 2, 3 times a year or after every cycle, or whatever. And if there's an issue, they take care of it. So I think really it's more the approach that
Yeah.
you have to
I mean,
it more so than just blanket statement, bodybuilding is unhealthy.
not to mention the bodybuilder's name, but once I read an interview, once I read him explaining to what goes on in his mind before a contest. But some bodybuilders, I mean, the night before a show and they want to win, they're desperate to win or place in the top three, maybe to save a sponsorship. Maybe their sponsor said, listen, if you don't place in the top three this weekend, we might be cutting you off. Literally, they said if they know if there was like drugs other than what's used in bodybuilding, whatever, cocaine or whatever, they would do what they have to do to help them get into a certain condition, um, taking, these drugs, just to look better. And they know it's bad for them, but they're willing to take that chance, to keep the financial, you know, the money coming in, So that's where I think it gets unhealthy. They're so desperate to win, because there's lots of things tied to that victory. Sponsorship, popularity, now social media, and all these things. So some of them just they don't think anymore. They just do, so or they cut out water for a longer time and things like that. So leading up to the show, I think as the show gets closer, that's when the risks start, increasing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Close to a show, it's not a very healthy thing. And then if you push things too far,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing things with water, I mean, there are listen, steroids, you can't overdose on steroids and just die from them. You can swallow a whole bottle of steroids, 100 pills, and you're not going to die. But there are certain drugs, there are diuretics, which can
Yeah, that
be
can kill you.
lethal
Yeah.
quickly. Insulin, some people, if they use it incorrectly,
Yeah.
diabetic shock and whatever, they can
Yeah.
drop their blood sugar, they could, go into a coma, whatever, different things. And then there's certain fat burners, like one called DNP, which can basically melt you from the inside out because it could raise your body temperature so high. Those are really acutely dangerous drugs. So that's where it gets a little bit silly. But
And
as long as you have a balanced approach and
yeah,
you're
yeah,
careful, you could, and listen, I think there was a study. I don't know if it was an official study, whatever. I just remember that I read something that I think like hundreds of Olympic level athletes were asked,
Yeah, if they would take something,
Something, would they take 10 years off their life to win a gold
and
medal?
they
And they all said
would.
yes.
Yes,
Most of them said
they
yes.
would. They
So
said,
that's also the mentality, of people who live in, or in the mindset of a
yeah,
champion.
yeah,
They're willing to push it. Listen, when you get it, like you mentioned before, auto racing. I mean, every time you get into a car and you're driving around a track at 250 miles per hour, whatever they drive,
yeah.
you're taking your life into your own hands.
Of
I
course
mean,
you are.
so it's a different mentality. But to speak to the question, I think is bodybuilding unhealthy? You can't just make a blanket statement. As an activity, it's extremely healthy. One of the healthiest things
Now,
you could do. As a
now,
sport, do it naturally.
yeah,
You're going to be
it-
healthy. Just, you have to watch before contest. And even at the highest levels, the Olympia level, all that stuff, if you're smart, you can make it. Listen, it's not the healthiest thing in the world to take
yeah,
PEDs,
yeah,
but it's necessary for the sport that you love. And if you treat it correctly, you can keep
yeah.
yourself pretty
I mean,
healthy.
keeping on the subject of not healthy, some people say it can happen. Some people say it happens even naturally. When you lift a lot of heavy weights and powerlifting and things like that, does the heart get bigger? Does it get to a size where it can be dangerous, even naturally?
Well, yeah, that can happen. That's why, there is what's something called the athletic heart,
Yeah,
and
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I think that it is
It could be
when it's
jogging as well. I mean, it could be anything.
yeah, I don't think that just having an increased size heart, if it's increased via exercise, is really dangerous. And I don't think a lot of physicians really take that, just like they don't take in consideration that they look at like liver enzymes tests
Yeah.
from people who train really hard, and like your liver enzymes are terrible, but just by training hard, the breakdown of muscle tissue and it raises your liver enzymes. So they think it's unhealthy, but it's really not. It's just, normal for people who exercise hard. So, that's why I think that a lot of misinformation gets out there about a lot of this stuff because most general physicians aren't aware, they're not schooled in the
Yeah.
difference between
Yeah.
athletes and what their body goes through and happens versus just general population.
Or maybe if somebody, it's like if you go to check your blood pressure, if you go 10 minutes after work, 99% the doctor's going to find it high. So it's
Right.
better when you go when you're relaxed or 3 to 4 hours
Of course.
afterward. Or it's like if you go to the doctor to do tests an hour after a grueling leg session, things won't be right.
Yeah.
They'll
And
be,
if even if you're taking creatine, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
one of the proven healthy supplement and so
yeah,
many benefits,
yeah,
it'll look like your creatinine levels are out of place and this and that. Doctors will be like, "You're gonna die." They just don't know. They
yeah,
just don't
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
So, but
So,
that's definitely a topic that I'm always interested in because one thing we have been seeing of late, we have been seeing a lot more deaths in bodybuilding. I think it's been more. So I just hope that everybody out there who's pushing it, number one, doesn't push it further than they need to.
yeah,
Number two, I always, even try to tell my own clients, like, you're not going to compete forever. Remember, you still want to be able to play with your kids into old
yeah,
age,
yeah,
have grandkids,
yeah,
so I always try to consider that stuff.
yeah, yeah,
So I think that's very, very important. So
yeah.
just be careful and go to your doctor and do what you got to do. And I think you could stay healthy and still live a normal,
Exactly,
long,
exactly.
long life.
Moving on, while we're talking about health and things, Merlin. It's the
Merlin question. Uh-oh.
Merlin question. There he is.
What would you like to ask me today, Kevin?
So my question is, I mean, the whole show could be Merlin, but anyways, my question is, which I go through a lot, and it keeps me away from the gym as well. Uh, Distractions, okay, it could be work, family, just things that get into your head. Uh, And even if you're injured and getting back to the gym when injured, basically when you're off track, it could be relationships, it could be work, injury, uh, whatever, a death in the family or something. What gets you back on track? Like my life is, I love bodybuilding, right? There's other sports that I love, but I used to train, every day, 5, 6 days a week, and the minute, you know, it's like you wake up in the morning, you see it's bodybuilding on social media. So you're always motivated. You watch Pumping Iron, you're more motivated. You see, you watch certain films from the past, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, you continue to get motivated. Then it's like the day goes by, life hits in, work, blah, 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 problems here and there. When it gets time to say, I'm going to go to the gym, you don't, it's like totally out of the question. How do you know, I hope you understand what I'm saying. How do you
Yep.
think people continue to stay like these pro bodybuilders? I'm not saying they don't skip a day here and there, but how do they keep motivated? That's the thing. I mean, all right, they
Well,
have a goal.
let's not compare, the general person to the pro bodybuilder because the
Oh
pro
yeah,
bodybuilder, that's their life.
yeah, yeah,
Generally. I mean, maybe they have another job, but still,
yeah.
they're getting paid to bodybuild in a sense, placings could be or sponsorships,
Yeah.
whatever. So they have to kind of
The
stay.
normal person, the normal
Yeah,
person.
but the normal person, a lot of people fall off track and that's common. I mean, one thing that I'm going to just say that, it's kind of just like tough love is you will do the things that are priority to you.
Exactly.
So if the gym and staying in shape and it is important to you, you're going to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
It's like I've dealt with some people getting ready for competitions who have a very high powered job, 3 or 4 kids. They got to take them to soccer practice and here and there, and they got all different things. And they still manage to get in their training. They still manage to get in all their food because they're motivated to do so. They want it. If you're motivated, you're going to find a way. You're going to not make the excuse. Even if you come home after work and you're tired, you'll be like, I don't care. I have to get my workout in.
Yeah.
So that's just like the tough love part of it. But I think when you're distracted and you have different things going on, I think you have to kind of like, kind of pull it back and just say to yourself, like, I know that it's I don't feel like doing this right now, but I think a lot of times what happens is if you could just push yourself to go, you feel so much better
Yeah. Yeah.
that you've done it and you feel invigorated. And I feel like it's just the first few times that are tough. And then once you get back into the groove, you'll be able to do it much easier and easier. And then it'll become part of your normal life again.
Yeah.
But another thing I want to say is that a lot of people I have known who have they stopped training for years, this and that, they try to jump in too fast.
Yeah.
And
That's a problem
can't
as
do
well.
that either. You can't go from not training to going, I'm going back 5 days a week,
Yeah.
3 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off, cardio and off days, whatever. I'm going back to the full diet,
Yeah.
cutting out everything. You're not going to be, what's going to happen is you're going to burn out in a week. You're going to be done.
You're gonna get
So I
hurt.
say,
Yeah.
huh?
You're gonna get hurt as well.
Well, you can get hurt. Yeah. But I'm just saying from a mental standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not going to be ready for that. So I say, listen, compromise with yourself. Say, you know what? I'm going to make 2 days in the week, Monday and Thursday, Tuesday and Friday. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to train my whole body those days. Just feel it again, get some
Yeah.
blood moving, whatever. I'm going to say, I'm going to cut, I'm not going to cut everything out. I'm going to get rid of soda or I'm going to get rid
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
some alcohol or I'm going to get rid of the snacks that I've been
Yeah.
having.
Yeah.
Start that way. And then you go through a couple of weeks that way. You're successful. It's not too much. Then you say, you know what? Now I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And now I'm going to cut out fried foods or I'm going to cut out whatever. And just, I'm going to do 15 minutes of cardio after each workout. Next, after a few weeks, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
After a few more weeks, 20. And just build up gradually because that way you're not throwing yourself into the fire so quickly and burning out because you're going to burn. You can't go from 0 to 100 like that
No,
when it
you
comes to
can't.
the body.
Yeah.
You have to move slowly,
Yeah. And
gradually.
even mentally, like I'm saying it, the older when you're younger, you probably, it's not that much of a problem. But when you're in the 45 to 50, 55, some people stop. My experience, like you stop at 48 because you change jobs and the time is different. You're used to training in the morning and you're not used to training at night, so and what my experience and then family things, kids are getting older, you have to um then you go back at 50, 51. I'm telling you, between 48 and 51 your body changes and you think you can do the same things that you did 4 years prior. And when you're in the groove, you're like 5, 6 years training constantly, all right? And you take those 4 years off, and mentally you still can do every you think you can do everything, and you cannot do everything, you know. You're not gonna lift the same weights that you did before. And the thing is, then it's like you already start falling in a hole, like you start saying, this is not for me anymore. You it's difficult to take a step back. Like I told you with Fuad last week, I said I think Fuad's problem is not recovering. His problem is mentally going to the gym knowing he cannot do certain things anymore. Hopefully, he can do everything. I hope so. But reality, he's not going to be the same guy as before. He already said he lost. He hasn't been the weight he is for the past 15 or 20 years. The lightest he has ever been. So um, that's what I find difficult personally. I mean, I broke my arm 2 years ago. I have a, titanium plate, all these screws and stuff. Um, I haven't been to the gym since. I do cardio here and there, but the thing is, you start getting scared. Like mentally, it's like, will I get a muscle tear now because I'm weak on this side, or is this going to happen? Or, it's quite complicated. And people tell me you love the gym so much, and you're into bodybuilding and to fitness and to this, but listen, it's sometimes it's a mental thing. I mean, it is a
Well,
mental thing, not
it's
sometimes.
all mental, but I mean, you have to listen. You know that it's the kind of thing that you have to just build back into your life
Yeah,
as part of
yeah,
your life, like
yeah,
everything else is. I'll give you a good example of the mental thing. Like right before I had moved to Vegas, which was about almost 3 years ago at this point, I was doing hack squats. I was living in California, I was doing hack squats, and something happened to my knee. I never had a knee problem in my life. My knee went out, ended up, my knee was partially torn, not enough for surgery, but my knee blew up huge. My leg was, I mean, I was a mess. And when I finally was able to even start training legs again after a long period of time of healing, I could go only on the leg press machine and do maybe one plate,
yeah,
145 on each side.
yeah, yeah,
And to even mentally put on that second plate, I was
yeah,
scared because my
yeah,
knee would
yeah,
pop again,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But I said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it real slow, take the time. And then I would work with two plates for a little while. And then slowly I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to try three, so on and so forth. And I battled it, but I was able to overcome it. I tried to push the fear aside, just say, go slow. If you feel anything really bad, you put the weight back, so on and so forth. And now, a few years later, I have 9 or 10 plates on the machine, and I'm doing
yeah,
bottom all the way to my no bullshit reps, complete reps, full, moving it slow, killing my legs again, and my knee doesn't hurt at all. So I mean, I only say that because I understand
yeah,
that fear. I understand the fear when you're coming back after an injury or this or that,
yeah,
and you have to just work through it. I mean, and you can't use it. I think people will use as an excuse. They'll just
yeah.
be like, no, 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 I can't do it anymore. I can't do this anymore.
Well, I've been there, done
And
that. No
yeah,
parking. I can't park. There's nowhere to park, or it's too late at night, or
right,
it's not. My friends are not at the gym. It's all that's
right.
everything. You
You
name it.
gotta put if it's important to you,
Yeah,
if it's a
yeah,
priority, you're
yeah,
going to do it.
yeah,
Period. And
yeah,
and that's what you have to do. You have to decide, is this really important to me? Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna go. Start slow, start gradual, like I
yeah,
said.
yeah,
But it's more a mental game than a physical game because your body will follow what your mind says. Just don't be stupid. Don't try to,
yeah,
you
yeah.
haven't trained in 3 years. Don't try to bench press
No,
315.
no, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Come back. And I didn't mind. Listen, I would be in the gym and I was like, using my leg example. I know people are looking at me. They know who I am. They're like, why is Merlin doing one plate on each side of the
yeah,
leg
I
press?
know, yeah, yeah,
I didn't care. I just said,
yeah.
you know what?
No, that's the thing. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't care because they don't know what. If they want to ask me why, they can ask me
yeah,
why and I'll tell them.
yeah,
Otherwise, I just got to do my thing, stay centered and stay within myself.
yeah,
And that's what I did. And now I'm back to full on leg training.
yeah,
There's certain movements that I avoid, like hacks. I won't do hack squats anymore because that's what hurt.
yeah.
And even the surgeon that I went to that spoke with me said don't do them anymore.
Yeah,
But I still train them hard now. I kill them, and that's just because I wanted to. I made it
yeah,
a priority, and I said I'm going to work through it. And if I was never able to get up to that weight again, I wasn't worried about it.
yeah,
If I only got up to 5 plates, I got up to 5 plates. So I'm just doing what is within my capabilities.
exactly.
And my knee doesn't hurt me anymore. Knock on wood. So
Yeah,
it's all here, man. You just got to just
yeah.
get back to it.
So, do you have any questions from any?
You know what? I would say yes, but we've been on here for a while.
Yeah, all right.
So let's end the show now
Yeah,
before we're on for
yeah,
like 3 hours.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
we've covered a
But
lot of
we,
stuff,
yeah,
and I'll hold back some of the questions from
yeah,
some. We have
yeah.
many more episodes to come.
We have a lot of snippets to share on social media this week. So the
Yes, a lot
YouTube,
of snippets. We got some exciting things coming
yeah,
up, and
yeah.
I
That
will
round,
still
yeah,
get to
that,
all questions that are
yeah.
asked of me. I will get to them.
Yeah, that round table, part of the show was really interesting. It's like I didn't expect it to, but we came up with some great ideas. It's neat. I hope
Well, it's
some
great because
people,
we talk and sometimes we're talking about things and then we go off on a tangent
yeah, yeah.
and
No,
we ended up talking about
like I
stuff and it's really
said,
cool.
it's the show is spontaneous. We cover some subjects and then we might move on to something else. So it
Yeah.
is what it is. That we have nothing. We don't need to follow any rules or anything
There's
like
no
that. But
script.
we keep it bodybuilding. I know there's other podcasts and I watch them and I laugh. They get off subject. Like Fuad and those guys. They start talking about the funniest things. Like today they were talking about. You know, you have to watch it. I mean, yeah, the things that they were joking about, and even Dave, they have all those guys talking about
Oh, when everybody's there. Well, the thing is, we have a whole bunch of friends on there.
yeah,
You're gonna get
yeah,
off topic and just
yeah,
start
yeah.
busting each
So we
other.
tried we tried to keep it bodybuilding, and hopefully, everybody's liking it and sharing the podcast here and there. But it's improving, it's getting out there. So, Rome wasn't built in a day. So we have
No, we
to
just
keep on
it's good
going,
people out there watching that we
It's
hope
only
will
episode 7, and I like
yep.
boasting that we already had 8-time Mr. Olympia, Lee Haney on it. So
And we have more cool guests coming,
yeah, we
guys.
have we have they're all booked. Like I said, I we agree on dates, but as we always say, life happens and things might get canceled. So that's why I don't really promote them way before because people are busy, they have businesses, and you know. With the time difference, we try to keep everybody comfortable. So we have some interesting stuff coming. So that's it for today,
Yep.
and we'll see you guys next week with our special
Yep.
guest.
With our special guests and
Yeah,
everybody out there, train hard, train smart. We'll see you
yeah.
next time.
See ya.